Okay, here we go. Last video for today, I promise. I figured this was another good one to do since I have everything apart at the moment. But I wanted to go over the fuel system that I have in here for this this Series 3 with its 3.5 liter fuel-injected V8 and automatic transmission, which I just covered in another video. Yeah, as you can see, it still has the original, well, it still has twin tanks under both seats. Although, under the driver's side, after I got this, I decided to swap it out for a civilian tank with an external filler. Not that there was anything wrong with the original tank that was in there. There certainly wasn't. I don't know. It got a little bit annoying having to lift up the seat every time I wanted to fill it up, but you know, I figured since this vehicle has already been extensively modified with its engine and transmission, it doesn't really matter that much if anything else gets done to it. This is not one for the rivet counters, of course, but anyhow, like I said, it is a civilian tank over here with an external filler that I put in here, and a U.S. military brass padlock on there, petrol only. But when I originally got this vehicle, it still had the two original military tanks in it. The previous owner who put in the engine transmission, the way he had it set up is that the engine fed off of the right-hand side, driver's side tank, and then the left-hand tank was strictly an auxiliary tank that could be filled up, and you could pump fuel over to here as needed. I changed it up a little bit, and what I did, I put in a fuel tank selector so that the engine can feed off of either the left-hand tank or right-hand tank. I also have a transfer pump installed, but that only will transfer fuel from the right-hand tank over to the left-hand tank. I guess that's just the way I set it up. I guess just because it's easier to fill this up here than to lift that up over there. I don't know. Call me lazy. But it works. Anyhow, for the fuel pump, it's actually mounted way down in here. Now you can kind of see it there, the front and the back of it. It's mounted on top of the chassis there, and behind this bracket and exhaust mount and whatnot. So there's a heat shield there, and it's sitting on a wider plate, and it's kind of tucked in behind there. That fuel pump, originally was could be used with like a Triumph TR7, TR8, I forget, one of those two. Anyhow, and then mounted just above it, yeah, maybe I'll go around the other side, you might be able to see it a little better. Mounted right above that is the fuel tank selector. Yeah, see, okay, you can see it right here a bit better. That's mounted on there above the filter. And that is electronically operated. That is operated through a switch here on the dash, so I can select which tank it feeds from, left or right. Above that is just the switch for the transfer pump to transfer fuel from the right-hand tank to the left-hand tank. It's got a telltale light, so I know that it's on. And I opted to do two separate fuel gauges. The way that fuel tank selector operates, though, I could have made it so that, you know, depending on what tank I select, the main fuel gauge up there would read whichever tank it's feeding from, but I wanted to be able to know how much fuel is in either tank without having to switch them over. So this right here, this fuel gauge, this reads for the left-hand tank, and the one in the main cluster, of course, feeds or reads the right-hand tank. I did, however, wire this up so that the low fuel light here on the dash, that only comes on depending on what tank is selected. So if I'm running off the right-hand tank and the fuel gets low, then the light will come on. But when I switch to the left-hand tank, let's say that's full, the light will go off, and that light will not come back on again on the left-hand tank unless the fuel goes low. So that's the way I did that. And as far as, let's see, everything else here, filtration and whatnot, I guess let me go back around the other side. It'd be easier to explain it from that side. So we got the fuel tank here. There's the cap, of course. The fuel would travel out of here. It goes through this. I have a 10 micron pre-filter right here. It's kind of hard. Everything's dark, so you can't see it. Sorry. That goes to the fuel tank selector, and that goes down to the fuel pump. And then the fuel pump sends it out here. Lines go along the rail here. Up on the bulkhead, I got them tucked in behind a heat shield here that I made out of some stainless steel. I mean, probably not 100% necessary, but I thought it was a good idea. And here is where I've got the main fuel filter. That's a standard Range Rover Classic Discovery 1. That's the smaller type fuel filter that uses the threaded fittings. And then that goes up there. I got a fuel pressure gauge here. That was put in by the previous owner. Handy little thing to have. That fuel pump that I have that came out of the TR7, TR8 produces, gets me to about 30-35 psi, which is what you need for the fuel injected engine here on the Rover. And then of course that just goes in the fuel rail and gets injected and everything else. And then of course with an EFI you do have a return as well. The return comes back in. The return also goes through the fuel tank selector, and then that goes back in here. This line coming in here is from the transfer pump from the other tank. So there we go. That's the fuel system. Okay, alright, even though I'm talking about fuel, and I probably should have put this maybe on the last one talking about the automatic transmission, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it here on the end. If you notice, that is a series parking brake lever. Well, this is an LT230. Like, how did that happen? No, that's something else that I wanted to do. The original owner did have had installed the lever from a Range Rover Classic, which, you know, that's a common thing that people do. But I'm weird. I just want to do something a little better. So what I had to do, you can kind of see in there, there's the bracket coming in from the series to a handbrake lever. And there's another piece of metal there that I made, and then that's attached to the bracket there on the side of the LT230. So this lever is not attached to the chassis as it would be on a Series 3. It's attached actually to the transfer case. It's operated just by a threaded rod, kind of similar to how the Series is. And it sits in there pretty good. You know, I've got it set back as far as it can go. It does sit out from the seat box maybe about an inch or an inch and a half more than it should, but it's not overly noticeable. And it just looks period. Oh, and then one last note, another note here on the Series. Of course, when I got it, it didn't have the original tap for the fuel tank selection. That had already been removed a long time ago. So there was just a hole here. I cut that out, and that's where I put this recessed box for the battery cutoff switch. So it's a convenient spot for it. When you're getting in, you just reach down, you put the key in there and turn it. And it got rid of those odd holes that happened to be there from the old fuel tank selector switch being removed. And actually, I just got this plate the other day. I got it off of eBay. I don't know what it came from. Not a Land Rover, but it looks good and it seemed appropriate to put there. So, and that's also doing another job. There was a hole here behind there that I hadn't plugged with a bolt or a rivet or anything. So that just covers up that hole, and then, you know, it looks like it's supposed to be there. But anyhow, there we go. Fuel system and parking brake. Bonus parking brake information. Yeah, hope you all found that interesting. But if you have any questions about anything, about the transmission, shifter, fuel system, what have you, leave some comments below. I'll get some more ideas for videos. There's more things to cover on here. But what should I call this? Resto. I was thinking about calling this the RESTO-EX-MOD, because it is a Resto mod, and it is an X-MOD. So how about RESTO-EX-MOD? Seems convenient. I don't know. But yeah. Thanks for watching.